Welcome to Pittsburgh. I'm glad to spend some time with you. You know, this is a special place in the labor movement. A lot of history comes through Western Pennsylvania. You know, I represent Beaver County, I represent Aliquippa. The steelworkers at J&L Steel are the ones who took it to the Supreme Court to recognize the basic right to collectively bargain. That happened in Western Pennsylvania. We're not alone in this country of the folks who shed blood for the labor movement, but we're a pretty important part of it. So welcome. This is a union town. Welcome to be here. So look, that's who we are. That's so much of the values that we all learned growing up here and coming up through a place where people did give a lot for the labor movement. But I'll be honest, you know, much of corporate America didn't care about that sacrifice, that service, that hard work. They tried to strip it away from us bit by bit, part by part. They looked at Western PA and lots of places like us across the Rust Belt and across this country, and they looked at how they could strip us for parts. We didn't stop fighting here. Lots of other people, and all of you, same thing. You were committed to your jobs, your dignity, the union way of life. It's that mission that took me to Congress, and you guys all know about this. I don't have to give any lectures about hard work, about sacrifice, about patriotism. Those are core values, I think, in our labor movement, and so many of the places we all call home and where we come from. Many of you guys, and I know, take on long shifts. You work hard. Sometimes you're understaffed. Sometimes you're understaffed. Look, it's your job to protect folks, whether we're traveling, flying, or on the ground at the airport, all of it. That's an important job. That's a stressful job. I fly a lot to get to DC, to go do the people's work. Thank you for keeping me safe. Almost twice a week when we're in session usually. And look, you know, I know there are members who aren't here today because they're keeping the runways clear, they're keeping the airplanes flying safe, and so much else. So we should give a shout out to your fellow brothers and sisters who aren't here. So before I came to Congress, you heard your president tell a little bit about my background. I was fighting for a union at Pitt, and we won, and it was the biggest union election win in the country in 2021. It's a big deal, and we were proud of that. We had lots of support across the labor movement. You know, in that experience, I learned a lot about what it is to stand together, to fight together, have your brothers and sisters alongside you. Those are some of the first folks who encouraged me to run for Congress, and they had support across our labor movement in Western Pennsylvania. That meant a lot. It's the same lesson I learned in uniform about the power of solidarity, all right? That we are strongest when we stand together, when we have each other's backs. Whether it's something small on the job or fighting for a contract, you name it. That solidarity matters, it's power. It's frankly how we've earned and fought for so many of our rights and freedoms in this country is through the power of solidarity. It goes to freedom too. You know, to me, freedom means a lot of things. It also means the right to work hard and have a decent living, to retire with dignity. To have an economy that I and others in Congress are fighting for that rewards hard work and not just wealth. That's not some crazy radical idea. It's a pretty American one, I think. Unions, and you guys all know this, are how we do that, how we make that vision a reality. But here's the thing, and I won't have to lecture anyone here about this either. It is really hard nowadays in lots of places to form and join a union. I talked about that union election when I was a part of. And I talked about the support we had across the board. You're in a small factory floor, you're in a coffee shop or anywhere in between, it's hard. Cards are stacked against you, and God forbid you're in a right-to-work state trying to form a union. It's why I'm supporting and so many others are trying to pass the PRO Act. Make it, yeah, we should clap for that, Mr. President, we should. Resets the playing field so that there is freedom to form and join the union, so when there's union busting, employers are held accountable, and we got fair union elections. That's a pretty simple idea. And we're fighting hard, but we're not there yet. We got lots more work to do. I'm also going to be standing strong and have against Schedule F, hurting federal employees, make it easier to fire them for their political beliefs. Makes no sense. Look, in this work and more, it's the honor of my life to get to do it in Congress. You know, I come from a military background and believe deeply in public service. I talk a lot about the common good. It's grounded in patriotism and loving this country. That is my fundamental belief in Congress and in the job I have. It comes to something I learned in the Navy, and maybe do I have some Navy folks in the room, anybody? Yeah, I heard the hoo-yah there. Shipmate self. The saying I learned pretty early when I was in Annapolis. You put the mission first, you put others before yourself. We ought to be doing a little more of that in how we govern in this country. It's a simple idea. You don't play games with people's politics or people's lives with politics. You don't put their liberty, their livelihood, their freedom at stake. You protect them. God knows the big, massive corporations aren't going to do it. We need the labor movement to protect people in this country. And look, I tell a story about Western Pennsylvania, and I could tell this about lots of places in this country. Those giants work to strip away benefits. They work to strip away protections for folks. They work to weaken unions and make it harder for workers to have a say on the job. It hurt safety, it hurt pay, it hurt benefits, it hurt retirement, you name it. Profits have been good, though. Shareholders did fine. Working people less so. We're changing that. It's the first time in a long time that's the case in Washington. We're changing it. And I know in your industry, look, the stakes are too high to let massive corporate profits dictate policy or safety decisions. People's lives are at stake. Travelers and workers alike. You get hundreds of millions of air travelers fly every year in this country. They've got to have an aviation system that's safe. And that's where you guys come in. That's where yins come in. We say yins here if you guys didn't know that. Look, you're part of the important backstop to make sure the airlines keep us safe. From inspectors who ensure industry compliance with the FAA safety standards, system specialists to protect critical systems, past members are focused on safety every step of the way, every day. So I'll be honest too, I'm concerned about consolidation in the airlines. The public and aviation workers alike, I think, have been hurt by merger after merger, consolidation in that industry, until we've got just a few big, strong players left. And we need an air travel system that's resilient, that's responsive to whatever comes our way. And I'm worried it's been leading to worse service, more cancellations, more delays, worse access for communities outside of chosen hubs. Who flew through Pittsburgh International Airport? All right, we're rebuilding it, if you saw. We're building a great terminal. There's infrastructure investment, there's union labor, made America materials, steel made in my district. There's on-site childcare. It's great, we're rebuilding it, and we have to. We're building a lot of the infrastructure in this country, but we're not a giant hub. You probably can tell that. We had been, and we can't have airports like ours and regions like ours left behind in all this consolidation. Doesn't work, doesn't make sense. We shouldn't see folks around here, workers and travelers alike, get punished with layoffs, higher prices, fewer options, or crazy connections for just trying to travel. Doesn't work for folks. So I pushed for an amendment in the FAA reauthorization that passed in the bill that studies the impacts of all this consolidation and mergers. Again, not a crazy idea. We should be thinking about whether this stuff is good for workers, good for our economy. We need to know what we're dealing with so we can take better action in Congress to protect folks. Whether it's airlines, railroads, other industries, I think we got to push back against corporate power in this country that treats workers and public safety like afterthoughts in their pursuit of profit. So part of standing up for people in this country who work hard is standing up for their jobs, fighting for an economy that makes stuff here at home, brings our supply chains and manufacturing back home, and grows good union jobs in the process, union jobs, whether public or private sector. I can't believe I have to say this. It also means protecting pensions and retirements, Medicare, Social Security. It is insane that I have to say that, but we have to do that. There are threats. I'm telling you guys, I see it in Congress every day. And something that I think affects you and your fellow members quite a bit. I'm going back to session in a few weeks. We are looking down the barrel of a government shutdown, which is nuts. We should boo. Can we boo that real quick, everybody? Yeah. Look, I know you guys will be on the front line of any shutdown. Who wants a missed paycheck? No. It is an abdication of duty and responsibility to even have this discussion. I'm fighting as hard as I can to make sure we don't have it happen. It shouldn't. I'll be working hard to protect all of you in this country and our economy. The cost is catastrophic. Catastrophic. So we cannot let it happen. And I'll work with anyone of any party, any part of this country to do what's right for this country and this economy. And it comes back to the idea I started with of the common good. That's it. Our shared prosperity, our dignity, our freedom, that ought to come first. That's what I believe, and I think you guys are all part of it. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your commitment to your brothers and sisters in labor, for what you're doing for this labor movement. I got your back in Washington. I'm glad you're here in this union town. Have a great convention. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. President. Okay, all right.